Hello everyone, it's Mafalda and welcome back to another video. As you can tell from the title of this video, this is another book haul. I feel like I only do book hauls. I can control myself, so this just keeps happening. But yeah, I have I think 31 books to talk about. These are all of the books that I got for Christmas, that I bought myself, that I received as gifts, and also for my birthday, which was this month in February. And yeah, let's just get started because I have a lot of books to talk about. So the first two books that I have to show you were Christmas presents from Elliot. I'll leave his channel down below, and yeah, he was kind enough to send me two books. So the first book that he got me was One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I've never read anything by Casey McQuiston. I still haven't read Right White and Royal Blue. I don't know how, because like everyone else has read it, but honestly at this point I'm just not interested anymore, and I'm very much interested in this book and I am really excited to read it. And I think this is a romance mixed with like fantasy and also historical elements, and it follows these two girls, and one girl just moved to I think New York and she's exploring the city, and she always takes the same subway every day, and there she like sees another girl I think named Jane, and she's very mysterious. And then the main character August figures out that Jane is from the 1970s and she's been stuck on that train ever since then, I think, something like that. And so then August tries to help Jane to go back to the 1970s when she belongs, but then they fall in love, I think. And yeah, it just sounds super fun. I've heard a lot of great things about it, so I'm really excited to get into this. And then the other book that Elliot got me is a really big surprise because I hadn't heard about this book and I'm really excited to read it, and it's called Pug Actually by Matt Dunn. And from what I gathered from the story, I think this is a romance book, but it's all in the perspective of the dogs. I don't know if there's multiple dogs or only just one dog, but it's like the owner's dog is falling in love with someone and it's basically the dog telling the story. And that just sounds so fun, so I'm really excited to get into this one, and thank you again Elliot for sending me these books. Now the next few books I got for myself as Christmas gifts. I got a lot of those this year because I just felt like treating myself, why not? So the first one I got, I think I read this, like I listened to the audiobook of this in like November, and then I loved it so much that I wanted to get a physical copy, and it's Things We Couldn't Say by J. Coles. And first of all, this cover, gorgeous. I normally don't like real people on covers, but I think this one is just amazing with like the teardrops. Yes. And this book follows Gio, our main character, and he's finally starting to come to terms with his bisexuality and the fact that he likes both guys and girls. And there's actually a new guy in the basketball team called David that has definitely caught Gio's eye, and he's definitely trying to figure his life out. And then one day all of a sudden his mother, that hasn't been in his life for 8 years, comes back into his life and just wants to explain herself and why she left. And this is definitely a story about sexuality, family, healing, and it's great. You should check it out. Now the next one I got was The Last of August by Brittany Caballero. This is the second book in the Sherlock Holmes books, and I read the first one I think like 2 years ago, but I really enjoyed it. I don't know why it took me so long to finally pick up the second book and finally buy it. And this is basically a story about Sherlock Holmes and Jamie Watson, who are the descendants of John Watson and Sherlock Holmes, and basically they're at the same school and some mysterious things start to happen, and so they come together to kind of solve the mysteries that are happening. It's a really fun story. I really like the dynamics between the two main characters, and I'm really excited to finally continue with the series. This is a 4-book series, I think, so still halfway. Yeah. The next book that I got I am so excited about, and it's The Boy from the Mish by Gary Lunsborough. Hope I'm pronouncing it right. I've seen TV Kane rave about this book online and I just had to read it because I trust his opinion. Honestly, I don't really know the specific plot of this book. I just know that it talks about Aboriginal Australians and it's set in Australia, which I honestly don't really read a lot of books set in Australia, unfortunately. And I don't think I've ever read a fiction book about Aboriginal Australians and the indigenous community there, so I'm really excited about that. And I think this book is about queer teens finding themselves and exploring their sexuality and just like first love and identity and all of that. So I'm really excited to read this one. Now the next few books I got for Christmas and they were presents from my lovely partner Pedro, and I'm super excited about all of them. So the first one is Reputation by Lex Croucher. I am actually so happy for Lex because this book has been so successful outside of their like YouTube bubble, because Lex is a YouTuber. I've been watching their content for like years. I don't even know how I found their content in the first place, and I just love their personality. And I've been following Lex for a really long time, and I actually watched them like create the book and write the book and talk about it. And it's actually so nice that it's being a really successful book. Like it's already been translated to Portuguese, for example. Like a lot of new releases aren't translated that quickly, and I'm just like so happy and proud for Lex for the success that the book has gotten so far. So that is just like a side note. And this book is described as Bridgerton with Fleabag combined, which I think is such a good mixture of things. And basically I haven't watched Bridgerton, but I have watched Fleabag, and I think this is a queer Regency era book with like witty humor and characters. And yeah, I'm just super excited to dive into this book, and once again I'm so proud of Lex, even though I don't know them, but yeah. The next book that Pedro got me was The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abidare. I've been eyeing this book for so long. I've heard amazing things of everyone in the community. Like everyone loves this book, and I'm just so excited to dive into it. And this book follows a 14-year-old girl who is a third wife in Nigeria, and despite the fate that's being thrown at her, she is set on getting her education, and so she flees her small Nigerian village and she goes to Lagos to possibly change her life. And this just sounds like a really impactful and hard-hitting story. I am so excited. I know this book will break me. And the next book that Pedro got me was The Beauty of Your Face by Sahar Mustafa, and I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this book, honestly. I think I heard someone really rave about it, and that's why I added it to my wish list. And this book follows Afaf, and she is a young girl, and she's the daughter of Palestinian immigrants in Chicago, and she's going to a Muslim school. I think it's all for girls. And one day when she's at school, a shooter enters the place and starts basically killing people, and she's there. And when she's there, I think we have like flashbacks to her life and to her childhood and stuff, and it's basically about her life, and it just sounds super impactful, super emotional, and I'm really excited to read this one. Now the next book I got as a Christmas present from the lovely Mary from Mary Among Stories, and she got me A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This is a really short book, and I read it I think on Christmas Eve, and it was just perfect. It was the perfect Christmassy read. I love the story. I've known the story ever since I was little, from like the Disney version and also the Muppets version. Those were like two of my favorites growing up, and I've just always loved the story, but reading the original work just hit different, and I was teary-eyed at the end, honestly, because this is just a beautiful story, such an important message, and like I said, it was the perfect Christmassy read to read during Christmas. It was amazing. Thank you so much, Mary. Now the next two books I got because I am very motivated to finish book series in 2022, so I got two books to like keep going in my series journey. So the first book that I got was A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. This is the second in a 4-book series, a number in the Ashus series. I read the first one last year and I really enjoyed it, and so I got the second one so I can continue with that series, and I'm really excited to continue with it. And then the next one that I got was A Conjuring of Light by V. Schwab, and this is the third and last book in the Darker Shade of Magic's trilogy, and I'm really excited to finish this one. And yeah, this is a really chunky book, but I am motivated to finish it this year. Then I got some book club books. So if you don't know, I host 2 book clubs with my friend Casey here on YouTube. So we have the 20-something book club where we read contemporary and like fiction reads, and then we have our non-fiction baddies book club where we read non-fiction. And so I bought some picks for the first few months of the year. So first of all, I have our book club pick for January and February for the non-fiction baddies book club, which is The 2000s Made Me Gay, Essays on Pop Culture by Grace Perry. I've already read this one, and this one was so much fun. This is basically just everything about 2000s pop culture, which is literally my favorite thing in the whole world. Like, the whole 2000s era is just like my favorite, maybe because I grew up in it and just has a lot of fun memories, but I just love this collection of essays and it was so much fun. So yep. And then I have our book club pick for January for the 20-something book club, which was Of Woman in Salt by Gabriela Garcia. I've already read this one as well, and it was really good. And this book follows a bunch of different Cuban women, most of them from the same family, and it's basically following the lives of these women. And this is a book obviously about family and about being a woman, but also about being an immigrant, and this was just such an impactful read. And now our February pick for the 20-something book club, which is actually the book that I'm reading right now, which is Butter, Honey, Pig Bread by Francesca Equiazzi. I am really enjoying this book, that's all I will say for now. And basically this is also following a family of 2 twin daughters and a mother, all from Nigeria, and it's basically following these 3 women. And yeah, that's all I know for now, at least. Now some other books that I got for Christmas for myself, because why not? So the first one I'm super excited about, and especially because I got this secondhand, and it is Ace of Spades by Farida Abiki Yemidi. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, I'm not really sure. I've just heard raving reviews about this book ever since it was published, and I'm just so intrigued about this book because this is not something that I would normally pick up. I think this is a thriller and it's like dark academia, and it's really not something I would pick up, but I've just heard so many amazing things about it that I'm just curious at this point. And this book is following our 2 main characters who are students at this private school, and they're both selected to be a part of this like elite group at the school called the Senior Prefects. And basically once they're in that position, they start getting these anonymous texts that kind of like reveal stuff that nobody else would know about their lives, and those texts are sent by a group or like someone called the Aces. And yeah, it just sounds super mysterious, and I am not sure how I'll feel about it, but I really hope I love this. Now the next one I've been really intrigued by, and once I saw it secondhand online, I really had to get it, and it's A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. I've heard a lot of people say that this book will break anyone because this is just a heartbreaking book, I think. And yeah, I'm ready for it. I love heartbreaking books. And this book follows our main character, Adam Blake. He has ADHD, and for one of his senior electives, he gets to basically be like an assistant to the psychologist at school. And one day the school psychologist asks him to track down this kid who has been kind of like disappearing, who is called Julian. And Julian is Adam's foster brother, which he hasn't seen in 5 years. And once they track him down, basically Adam starts to figure out that something is kind of wrong with Julian and he doesn't seem like the kid he was 5 years prior, and is just kind of like following them, I think. I'm super ready to read this one and see if it will break me like everyone else says it will, so yeah. The next book that I got was Dead in Her Hands by Tessa Moshfegh. I got this one specifically because it's not like one of my favorite books, but I really liked My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Tessa Moshfegh. I think it was just such a different book from anything I've ever read, and I really liked Tessa Moshfegh's writing, and so I was really excited to pick up her newest book. And I actually have already read it. I read it back in January, and it wasn't really my favorite. I still really like Tessa Moshfegh's writing, but just the story didn't really click with me at all, and the main character also didn't. And basically this is following a woman named Vesta, and one day she comes across a note that is like in a forest in the middle of nowhere next to her house, and that note says, "Her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. It wasn't me. Here is her dead body." And basically Vesta sees that and she starts investigating and kind of like making things up about Magda and trying to figure out who she was and what really happened to her. And it's kind of like a murder mystery, but it kind of, I don't know, I didn't really like the book, honestly, and I didn't really get the point of the book, so yeah, that was a bummer. And then the next book that I got was Mr. Loverman by Bernardine Evaristo. This is also an author that I've read before. I read Girl, Woman, Other last year. I really loved that book, so I wanted to read some other stuff by Bernardine Evaristo. And yeah, I don't really know what this book talks about, honestly, and I just think it's about an old man. And yeah, that's basically it. I honestly don't know, but I'm really intrigued. The next two books I got from Casey for Christmas, and I'm so excited about both of these. And the first one is American Vithia by Anuradha D. Rajurikar. Hope I'm pronouncing this right. And I actually mentioned this book in like an anticipated reads of 2021 video that I did. I don't really remember it anymore, but I was just really intrigued about this book from the get-go, and I'm really happy that I have it now. And this book follows our main character Rani, and I think she's Indian, and one day she meets a guy named Oliver, and she is really drawn to him, but at the same time she knows that her parents won't approve of him and their relationship, and so she starts lying to her parents and basically starts dating Oliver in secret. Then I think her parents obviously find out about her relationship and they send her to India. So I think this is a story about first loves and kind of interracial relationships and finding your own identity, and I just love stories like that, so I really think this will be a 5-star for me. And then the next book that Casey got me was Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is one of the only Tiffany D. Jackson books that I haven't read. I think I also haven't read Allegedly, and I think that's it. But I'm really excited about this one. And all I know about this book is that it's set in the 90s, it's set in Brooklyn, and it follows kind of like the hip-hop vibe of that era. And honestly, that's all I need to know. I'm completely sold, and I'm sure that I will love this book. Then the next book that I got was a gift from Charlotte for Christmas, and it is Blackout, and this is a collection of short stories, so an anthology by a bunch of Black authors that I absolutely love, like Angie Thomas, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nicola Yoon, just like a bunch of them. So I'm super excited about this. And this is an anthology of love stories set during a blackout in New York. And it just sounds super specific, but I'm super excited to read this one. Also, this is a sprayed edges edition, which I think is my first. And yeah, I'm super excited about this one. Thank you, Charlotte. Now, the next book that I got for myself was Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. I've already read this one, and this is basically a Little Mermaid retelling with a Black character and like mixed with African mythology, and this is super great. I think I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Now, the next book that I got was The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I always have trouble saying that, I don't know why, but I basically got this book for my dissertation and I still need to read it. This is a children's classic, and it's basically about a secret garden, and that's all I know, honestly. But I'm excited to read it and find out more about the story. Now, the next few books are books that I got in my latest trip to Paris, France. I've already shared these books on my Instagram page down below if you want to follow me, but if you haven't seen them, here they are. So the first one that I immediately saw at Shakespeare and Company, and I was like, this just fits perfectly with everything, was Hamlet by Maggie O'Farrell. This is a fiction book about, basically inspired by Shakespeare's son, who was called Hamlet, and that's why Hamlet is called Hamlet. I was at Shakespeare and Company, and it just felt right to get this book there because, you know, Shakespeare and stuff, and I also have the little stamp on my book, which I love. And yeah, I've heard a lot of great things about it. This was the Women's Prize for Fiction winner from 2020, and I've heard a lot of great things about it, so I'm excited to read it. Now, the next book that I got at Shakespeare and Company, which also has the little stamp here, was We Have Always Been Here, a queer Muslim memoir by Samra Habib. I've been eyeing this book for such a long time, and now it's a nonfiction baddies book club pick for, I think, May and June, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it just fit perfectly that I bought this book there and then it was picked for the nonfiction baddies book club. Amazing. And like the title says, this is a memoir about being queer and being Muslim, and it just sounds so interesting, and I think I will love this book, so I'm excited to read it for the book club. Now, the next book that I got at Shakespeare and Company was Annie and Ashus Guide to Fake Dating by Deepa Jargadar. I've loved the Hannah Wars so much when it was published and when I read it, and I can't believe I only got this book now. It's been really high on my wish list, but I just didn't get it until now, and when I saw it at Shakespeare and Company, I just knew I had to get it. And this book follows Honey and Issue, obviously, and Honey is really popular at school, and she just came out to her friends as bisexual, and none of them believes her, unfortunately. And Issue is an academic overachiever, and she really wants to be head girl, but the only shot that she has at being head girl is if she's popular, and she's really not popular, and so basically they both join together and decide to fake date, like the title says, because Honey wants her friends to believe her as a bisexual, and Issue wants to be popular, and because Honey is popular, she has a better shot at becoming popular if she dates Honey. And so this just sounds amazing. I think then they fall in love, obviously, and super excited. Now, the next three books I also got in Paris, and not gonna say that this bookstore was better than Shakespeare and Company, but honestly, like, Shakespeare and Company is really nice to just go there because of the history, and just like the looks of the bookstore is like so pretty and so magical, and just like being there is just great. But in terms of selection of books, I feel like this bookstore, which is called Smith & Son, which is also in Paris, I think it was a bit better. I found a lot more books that I was interested in there. It's also an English bookstore, and it has 2 floors, and it has such a big selection of books, and I found so many books there that were like super like new releases that had been released like a week prior, and I was like, how is this book here? This is amazing. And so I was so excited getting in there, and I kind of like forced myself only to get 3 books because I didn't have a lot of space to bring books home. So the first book that I got, I literally entered the store, I saw this book, and I was like, you are mine, I am getting you home. And it's You Truly Assumed by Layla Sabrine. This is a new release, and I've just been so excited about it ever since it came out. And this is a book about 3 Black Muslim women who are trying to pick themselves up after a terrorist attack. I'm so happy that I got this book, and also can we appreciate this beautiful cover? It's amazing. Now, the next book that I got at Smith & Son in Paris was Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi. I absolutely loved The Death of Vivek Koji, and also really liked reading Pet by Akwaeke Emezi, and so when I saw this, I knew I had to get it. And I think this book follows a troubled child called Ada, and Ada has always been prone to fits of violence and anger and grief, and then I think something really traumatic and significant happens in her life, and it's just kind of Ada trying to navigate that and get control of her own self, I guess. And yeah, I'm just really excited to read another Akwaeke Emezi book. I know it's going to be amazing. And the last book that I got in Paris was Sex and Rage by Eve Babbitt, advice to young ladies eager for a good time. I've heard a lot of good things about Eve Babbitt's books, and so I decided to get this one on a whim. I really don't know what this is about. And this is a semi-autobiographical novel about a woman named Jacaranda in the 1970s in LA. And yeah, it's just about her life, I think. And yeah, I just wanted to try some Eve Babbitt's. Honestly, I didn't really have a book for reference, so I just picked this one up. It sounded interesting. I really like the cover, so that was it. And we're finally at the end of the haul, finally. So the next one that I got was a birthday present from Casey, and it is The Mothers by Brit Bennett. I read last year her other book. What is it called? The Vanishing Half, that's it. I read The Vanishing Half last year and I really enjoyed it. I really liked Brit Bennett's writing, so I'm excited to read this one. I honestly don't know what it talks about, and I honestly don't want to know. It's probably about mothers, probably about motherhood and family and stuff. Yeah, that's it. That's all I know. I know that Casey loves it, so I'm excited to read it, and I really hope I like it too. The next one that I got was a pre-order, and this is probably my most anticipated book of 2022, so I'm so excited that I finally have it. And this is also our March book club pick for the 20-something book club, and it is Ophelia After All by Raquel Marie. I am so excited about this book. You have no idea. I'm just so excited to read it next month. And this is the same thing that I said earlier about Lex Croucher. I've just been following Raquel for so long on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, everything, and I'm just so happy for her and the success that this book is having, because I've seen raving reviews about this book. I haven't seen one bad review of this book, so I'm just so happy for her. Honestly, I'm just so happy. I don't even know her, but I'm just so happy for her. But basically this book is about Ophelia, and she's half Cuban, I think, and she's kind of like coming to terms with her sexuality and the possibility of her liking another girl, and I think that's basically the plot of the book. I'm just so excited to read this one. I'll hopefully start it in a couple of days, and yeah, finally have it. And now the last book that I literally got it this morning, and I'm just also so excited about having this, and it's So Many Beginnings by Bethany C. Morrow, and this is a Little Women retelling. Oh my god, this is perfect. I actually already listened to the audiobook of this earlier this month, and I absolutely loved it. It was just everything I wanted. I love Little Women so much, and just seeing this different perspective of the story was just so riveting. And I actually got this one because it was a birthday gift from the lovely Mary from Mary Among Stories. Thank you so much. I am just so happy that I have this in my collection. And yeah, honestly, I kind of want to reread it now physically, because like listening to the audiobook was a good experience, but I really wanted to have it physically and read it physically, so maybe I will reread it, possibly. This is just such an interesting take on the Little Women story, because obviously the story would be completely different if the family was black, and basically that's what the book proposes, and it's such an interesting take. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, and yeah, just pick it up. It's amazing. And yeah, that concludes my haul. I really hope you guys enjoyed this haul. I really hope I don't make another haul so soon, because I need to read all of these books. Like, most of them I haven't read, and I'm really ashamed of that, but honestly, my TBR at the moment is really long. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on my next one. Bye!